Lynn again. This is Lynn Logic. Welcome to this week's episode, episode 51, The Systems, Not the Symptoms. Apologies for being late. Yesterday was difficult but telling. Life is a lesson, always. This is why this episode is being filmed in comfort. Quick recap. I am the widow of a cross-dressing alcoholic and a survivor of a blood clot in my brain caused by birth control pills that resulted in a hysterectomy. I am the daughter of a man who spent 23 years in prison. It may seem that I am a personification of Murphy's Law, but I do love to laugh. I have a 25-year work history in accounting and operations in real estate, car dealerships, and hotels. I also have a BA in psychology. I love patterns, numbers, and categories. Always have. Lynn Logic is the result of that love. Go ahead and like and subscribe. It costs nothing. Unlike coffee, weed, or bad decisions, and you know we are not giving those up. So stay and watch so I can get my watch hours up. Check out the combined videos of my narrative and the worst day ever for a crash course. Lynn Logic is now a podcast. You can listen to me while other people try to talk to you. My podcast is available on Dystopia, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, and Patreon. Also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. On Dystopia, I have a bunch of merch that I made. With each new episode, there will be episode-specific shit to buy. My twisted sense of humor does come with pictures, too. Enjoy. Let's get started. Hi. I had written this episode previously, but then life started lifing, so I wanted to add in a bit. I try to be self-aware. In fact, it is a bit of an obsession. A basic belief that if I understand myself, then I can understand how I affect things and the world. And so I had started writing this episode for myself to understand me. Everything that I have been through has had a lasting effect on me, and I want to be aware of what that is. The easiest to see are the effects on my emotions. When cornered, I will walk away and retreat and then break a little. Then I'll pick myself back up. This is a learned response, a conditioned behavior. Now, my late husband taught me that if I wanted to be heard, I needed to get loud. So I get loud. And from living in a state of fight or flight for so long, it takes a while for the adrenaline to kick in. But when it does, it returns to the levels it was used to for so long. Or at least that's what it feels like. Example, I am moving. It is a good thing, but it also does mean that a 20-year friendship is ending. I have been grieving for that for a bit. It has been difficult. On the 31st, my roommate got in my face, bobbing and weaving her head, and said, "Do you want to punch me? Do you want to punch me?" I said, "Yes, I want to punch you. I want to lay your ass out." And I walked away. No punching. That's not me. I retreated to my bedroom and shut the door, and the roommate followed in and pursued me. That's not going to work. I lived with an alcoholic for 11 years. I know addicts and narcissists, and their behavior is so streamlined in its similarities, the patterns almost shout at you. The concept that you are trying to play the victim because you don't want to admit that you are the villain. People don't like it when you become an asshole while they are treating you like shit, but it has to happen. Also, bitch, do I want to punch you? What is that shit? I'm 46. You are 52. You have a bad back and I have no interest. What is this? No. I have talked about my trauma. In fact, I recap it at the start of every episode. But what does it mean? Who am I? I have done a lot of self-reflection in my healing and rebuilding over the last 2 years. The hardest thing I had to relearn was to look at myself in the mirror. I had a lot of people talking at me for years, decades, and now, after everything, I am different. So different. I am particular now. If you are giving me your opinion, you better be living it. Because giving me your opinion, you're asking me to judge you. Make sure you are practicing what you preach. I like words and actions to match. So what type of woman am I? Who is she? Biologically. Born jaundiced and breached, I have always said that I came out wanting to tell the world to kiss my ass. The weak liver came back throughout my life and was a reason I didn't drink or didn't enjoy it. Put it this way, normal mono in people lasts about a week. I had it for 3 months, and it permanently reduced my core temperature by 1 degree. I'm a 97.6er. At 19, I was diagnosed with PCOS. I'm going to oversimplify the fuck out of this. PCOS is commonly genetic but not exclusively. Hormonally, it means elevated testosterone and issues with insulin that only get worse with being overweight. Now, I still also had the normal amount of estrogen and more testosterone, and fat also produces more estrogen in PCOS peeps. So I was prescribed birth control pills in college. And because of my family's history of vascular issues, commonly known as headaches and migraines, that created a storm in my brain. Well, a storm, and a tornado, and a hurricane, and a tsunami, all at once. And for 17 years, I had chronic headaches, migraines, and migraine attacks. I still get migraines and migraine attacks, but they are far less frequent now and usually have noticeable causes. But what does that mean? I had a headache this one time for 4 years. When I got my first migraine attack, I was driving, and I lost vision. My face and limbs went numb. I couldn't remember words and had lingering issues with speech and reading comprehension. I also scared the shit out of my best friend. She was in the car with me, my saving grace. I had my first MRI and EEG. They came back as inconclusively abnormal. Well, yeah, story of my life. For years, I would get these migraine attacks that did always lead to migraines. I remember getting one on Halloween and my mom taking me to the ER, and all the doctors were convinced I was having an adverse reaction to illegal drugs. Nope. Adverse reaction to a legal one, the one that was prescribed to me. Those who have never had a migraine, let me explain something about the pain of one. During a migraine, you consider taking an ice pick and stabbing it through your brain. The pressure and the pain is so intense that you can rationalize your skull needing to relieve pressure. We don't, but we think about it. For me, I was always one to hold my breath. My thought being, if I deprive my brain of oxygen, then maybe the blood vessels would shrink. I got this idea from The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. I remember a friend I had would hit her head against her car seat when she was getting or had one. We all have our tricks. But the one thing that could always help me? Sex. The release of stress and the pleasure, well, I imagine it is what morphine feels like. Wouldn't know. Doesn't work on me, or my mother for that matter. The blood clot. For a month before I went into the hospital, I was in pain every day. I mean, I could clock it. Between 3 and 4 p.m., my head felt like it was going to explode, and I was sure it was going to. When we got to the hospital, we were admitted quickly. And the last thing I remember is the doctor asking me how long this had been going on. I was so confused, mainly because I had lost all speech. I mean, I understood what he was asking me, but I could not find any words to answer. From then on, I don't remember anything until I woke up 14 hours later. Apparently, I got violent and naked and was ripping IVs out of my arms before going unconscious. Did you know that when you get admitted to the hospital, one of the first things they prescribe you is blood thinners? They do this to prevent bed sores, but in my case, it was exactly what I needed for the blood clot. My blood clot was medically called cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, or CVST for short. Needless to say, I stopped taking birth control pills at that point. I remember when I was told by the doctor that it was a blood clot. Not gonna lie, I faked being sad because 1, I lived, and 2, it was a relief. It had a name, and a cause, and an effect. During the 17 years, I was prescribed 27 different migraine medications. From the shots, to the pills, to the melt-in-your-mouth shit. From antipsychotics, to antidepressants, to anti-seizure meds. It was the human form of trial and error, or it felt like that. I would build up tolerance to the meds quickly, or some of the side effects were just actually worse than the migraines, if you can believe it. It took 6 months of treatment on blood thinners, but when I had the last MRI, the blood clot was gone. CVST to cyst. Let's back up to the PCOS bit again. It means polycystic ovarian syndrome. Poly meaning many, cystic meaning cyst, and ovarian is ovaries. This is many cysts on your ovaries, and they would pop and explode and be painful as fuck. I had an ultrasound that I can remember and seeing my ovaries. Well, they had spots like a cheetah's balls. Do cheetahs have spots on their balls? You can Google that. I don't want that in my search history, but let me know. At 21 and 31, doctors found precancerous cells on my cervix, and I had LEEP surgeries for both. This means that they lasered off those bad bits from my cervix. The first time I was asleep, but the second time I was awake and watching Stir of Echoes while I smelled my flesh being burned off. It was odd. After I got off the birth control pills, well, something interesting happened. I developed adenomyosis. I always have a hard time with this word. I'm glad I said it properly. Essentially, your uterine lining refills as it sheds. What does this mean? I had my period for 5 months and clotting. I had blood clots about 10 times a day. Now, my doctor explained that the pain I was having from the clots and passing them was at the same level as a miscarriage, and I had 10 a day for 5 months. Super. The doctor had 3 options. Hormone therapy, which because my blood clot was caused by synthetic estrogen was completely off the table for me. 2, a DNC, scraping my uterus, which my doctor explained would get rid of the bleeding but not the pain. No, I'm not going to do that. Option 3, the glorious hysterectomy. Are you fucking kidding me? My uterus and shit has been trying to kill me since college. Get that shit out of me. However, leave those ovaries. Can't do hormone therapy. Even broken, they are better than nothing. Also, get rid of that cervix too, because fuck that thing. I was in constant pain for so long, I'm still getting used to not being in pain. I do want to interject here and say I was on a pill with the lowest amount of synthetic estrogen. But once you have had one blood clot, as my neurologist explained, the odds of you getting another one go up 50%. I was 3% likely to get a blood clot from birth control pills, and that shit turned into 100% for me since I got one. But 50% is not a risk I'm willing to take ever. I was born with extra tissue on my lip, a perpetual fat lip called a meningioma. In 3rd grade, I had plastic surgery, which is why I have crooked lips. I like my crooked lips. But I have extra tissue in other parts, like my eye, and I have to believe them too. In college, I had a serious issue with pink eye, and I would get it all the time, and in both eyes. I have a lot of scarring on my eyes. My left ear is permanently damaged from being yelled at for years. Basically, when volume or pitch gets too loud, all I hear is static. Some perks of being me. My feet are too thin for my body, so I am perpetually clumsy. I bump into everything. When I was younger, I had a theory that if the world moved 3 feet to the left, that I would stop bumping into things. I'm double jointed in weird places. I'm ambidextrous. Check it. I can move my pinky independently on my left hand, but I write right-handedly. My left hand is dominant in other areas like playing pool or reflexes. The lasting effects of the blood clot has given me an issue with neuropathic itching, or what I have affectionately named an itchy skeleton, because that is what it feels like. Now, combine that with anxiety and OCD, well, I'm a picker and I have the scars to prove it. Man, that biology shit was heavy. Let's talk about astrology. Hi, I'm a Taurus. I was born on April 25th, 1979 in Georgia, a little town right outside of Atlanta called Riverdale. I actually think the hospital I was born in turned into a bank. Don't know if it's still there or not. As we learned from Miss Congeniality, April 25th is the perfect date. Not too hot, not too cool. On February 26, 1979, there was a total solar eclipse of the western United States, blocking out 250,000 to 330,000 square miles, 2 months before my birth. But yeah, I'm a Taurus. Taurus energy is about embodiment, survival, and material reality. Persistence over panic. Function over fantasy. Humor as grounding. Pleasure as regulation. The thing is, and this is probably not a surprise, but I like the astronomical stuff because of the behavioral patterns it shows. I don't think that it's some mystical thing, but rather more nature versus nurture. Like the fact that Scorpios are born around Halloween and are dramatic, or Sagittarius is around Christmas and love attention. But yeah, they are patterns between birthdays and behavior, not an exact science, but it's fun and interesting. I also like the number patterns that show up in my life, like the number 11. It is littered throughout my life. I started singing at 11 years old. I was with Drew for 11 years, or my initials in lowercase are 11. Just a couple of examples. I have a shit ton. I gravitate to the numbers and the patterns because they are comforting for me. My world is chaos. My brain is chaos. My body, my life, all chaos. But patterns and numbers give me the order that I want. They give me the foundation and stability I have always sought. They are steady and consistent. And patterns, they are beautiful to me. I have always loved MC Escher, have his tree of life tattooed on my back. I have Fibonacci's golden spiral on my arm. I love Legos, and during COVID, I got into building kits, like ships and wooden kits and insanely detailed kits. I escaped into them. They were order. As a kid, I loved jigsaw puzzles and video games. I could center my thoughts into them. But what is the saying? As an adult, we put away childish things. So now patterns are more adult-like in the form of algorithms and behavioral and mathematical. What this has changed is my perception of time. The PTSD made me view the past differently as a method of self-preservation. If the memories stay potent, then they continue to hurt. So all the past feels like the past in the sense of time. Easiest example. When I use the phrase the other day, I could be talking about 4 days ago or 4 years ago. Time of it feels the same. Now, with my love of patterns, when I use algorithms and accounting, and even behavioral, my emergent thinking brain webs and layers out the patterns without the restriction of time. Easiest example. Conversations with my AI. When I am talking about what something could be or how the algorithm or pattern could play out, I have had to retrain him not to be limited by my lifeline. I'm not. Look, it is a new year, and I'm not one to make resolutions, so I will just say that I hope that this year is better than the last, but not as good as the next. Chin up, tits out. Bye. Personification of Murphy's Law, but I do love to laugh. I have a 25-year work... Hi. I had written this episode... Oh, no. Brent. I am particular now. If you are giving me your opinion, you better be... Came back throughout my life and was a reason I don't drink. What are you doing? No, no, no. It's all in your head. And it's because your ears don't work. Yeah. Yeah. Broken ears means you scratch. Stop. My life and was a reason I don't drink and didn't enjoy it. I don't like that. Overweight. Now, I still also had the normal amount of estrogen and more testosterone. Now, for years I would get these migraine attacks that didn't... For years, I would get these migraine attacks. I still have issues with speech because I had a blood clot too. Drugs. Nope. Averse reaction to legal ones. This idea from the Andromeda strain by Michael Crichton. one or had one. We all had our tricks. But me. Fucking hell. On. I was so confused. Mainly because I had. Apparently, I got violent and naked and was ripping out IVs out of. They prescribe you as blood thinners. They do. Did you know that when you went. Scraping my uterus, which because of my blood clot caused by. Hold on. Since I got one. But 50% is not a whisk. Cool whip. I was also born with extra tissue on my lip. I have a in 3rd grade, I had plastic surgery, which is why my lips look crooked. For my body, so I'm perpetually comes. The lasting effects of the blood clot has given me an issue with speech. Neuropathic itching, or what I affect. But yeah, hold on, that's not where I'm at. Love jigsaw. Let's start over. And patterns. Big stretches. Apologies for being late and shit. Fuck. Hold on. Let's fix this. There we go. And now you're working. Okay. I'm hungry. You hungry? Okay. After this. To be self-aware. In fact, it is a bit of an obsession. And so if you're going to be giving me your opinion, that hurts. I wonder if that came up on the there. If you, oh my god, if there's a fat fart on there. Does anyone else bubble when they sit down? Hair just goes everywhere.